Welcome to Kadampa podcasts. These podcasts offer practical solutions to daily challenges and help guide us to a happier and more peaceful state of mind. In each episode, you will find an extract from a teaching given by one of various Kadampa Buddhist teachers worldwide. All these teachings are inspired by the profound wisdom of Venerable Geshe Kelsang Gyatso Rinpoche, a Buddhist master for our time. We hope you will enjoy listening.
There are obviously many different inner problems that we can have, but in our relationships, the thing that most commonly sours our relationships, the thing that most commonly makes them uncomfortable, tense and difficult is our anger. We may not like to acknowledge that, but part of our mind sees someone doing something we don't like, and we a little bit judge them for it. We get a little bit punitive. Well, maybe we want some revenge. We want to give them a piece of our mind. Want to let them know just how bad they are. That sort of stuff comes up. Venerable Geshe describes this very beautifully in this passage. So this is from page 25 of How to Solve Our Human Problems. Venerable Geshe says, anger is particularly destructive in relationships. When we live in close contact with someone, our personalities, priorities, interests, and ways of doing things frequently clash. Since we spend so much time together, and since we know the other person's shortcomings so well, it is very easy for us to become critical and short-tempered with our partner, and to blame him or her for making our life uncomfortable. Unless we make a continuous effort to deal with this anger as it arises, our relationship will suffer. A couple may genuinely love one another, but if they frequently get angry with each other, the times when they are happy together will become fewer and further between. Eventually, there will come a point when, before they have recovered from one row, the next has already begun. Like a flower choked by weeds, love cannot survive in such circumstances. So Venerable Geshe here is specifically talking about a relationship, couples, but obviously the same applies to close friends and within a family and so forth. But this is something that we may well have lived ourselves and certainly witnessed in our friends, where two people can be very close and have really quite beautiful feelings towards each other. But nonetheless, that relationship can slowly die a tragic death, because of anger. Gradually we're aware they do that, and it occupies more and more of our attention. We notice it more. And eventually we're annoyed before they've done it because they're going to do it. Sometimes we start to have arguments without even saying any words. They're thinking that. I know you're thinking that. And you're thinking I'm thinking this. And I am, but you shouldn't be assuming that I am. That's not right. And we can have a full no one said a word, and the room is full of a nasty atmosphere, and it happens. And even sometimes people can later on meet again, we had a beautiful thing, how did that not work? How did that fall apart? And it's such a tragedy, because as humans we crave companionship. And sometimes we meet someone and there is a beautiful compatibility, there's a beautiful relationship there. But our mind, the malfunctionings of our mind, our own anger and irritation sabotaged it. Our mind paying too much attention to this and not being able to let it undermined a very beautiful thing. Venerable Geshe goes on to say, in a close relationship, opportunities to get angry arise many times a day. And there's no doubt about that. If you're living with another person, there are many opportunities every day to get annoyed with them. If you're raising children, there are many opportunities every day to get annoyed. If you're a child, many opportunities to get annoyed with the parents. There's so many. If we're packed on top of each other, if you live in a spiritual community, there are many opportunities to get annoyed with each other. If we're in close quarters, there are many opportunities. So, to prevent the build-up of bad feelings, we need to deal with anger as soon as it begins to arise in our mind. We clear away the dishes after every meal, rather than waiting until the end of the month, because we do not want to live in a dirty house, nor be faced with a huge, unpleasant job. In the same way, we need to make the effort to clear away the mess in our mind as soon as it appears. For if we allow it to accumulate, it will become more and more difficult to deal with, and will endanger our relationship. So we know when we're annoyed. We know when we're a bit grumpy with someone. And sometimes we just sort of allow that. We just leave that there. And then it can become settled, like a sort of slow burning resentment. And then another thing comes, more evidence. We're gradually building up a case file. Yes, they did that. Yes, they do that. I am right about what they're like. I was wrong before, but now I'm getting a much clearer picture. I used to think that. How wrong was I? Now I'm thinking this. And we're sort of gradually building up a case in our mind, so there's no future here. There's no hope. Even, like I talked about argument, like sometimes, like some people would say, if you're arguing, at least you have hope. When you get to the point where you're not even arguing anymore, you don't even think there's a point. You think it's not even worth it. It's basically on its last death knell. It's its last dying embers. I'm not even arguing. There is no point. And we don't want it to get to that. And obviously, if it's got to that, we can still get it back, but it's a big, big job. Like if we've gone to that point, we're at the last chance saloon of sorting something out. We can get back from there. There's no doubt we can get back from there. But ideally, we don't get to that place in the first place. We notice the tension and we deal with it promptly, and we keep dealing with it. And that way, it doesn't turn into resentment, and those unfortunate outcomes don't arise for us. So now then, Venerable Geshe turns it around and makes this incredibly, I think, optimistic. He says, we should remember that every opportunity to develop anger is also an opportunity to develop patience. A relationship in which there is a lot of friction and conflict of interests is also an unrivaled opportunity to erode away our self-cherishing and self-grasping, which are the real sources of all our problems. By practicing the instructions on patience explained in this book, we can transform our relationships into opportunities for spiritual growth. So there are many different versions of ourself. There's a version of ourself that is a joy to be with. There's a version of ourself that's quite hard work to be with. And there's a version of ourself that we haven't met yet, which is the potential of who we can be. And we can be an unparalleled source of peace and happiness for our family, for our community. We have this incredible potential within us. And the very situations that we sometimes blame for why we're not the calm, peaceful, happy person that we're hoping one day we will be, are the situations, are the fuel that can turn us into that. Some of you will have met and received teachings from Genla Khenrap. He's one of our most senior teachers of our tradition. And he would often talk about Dharma communities as like a diamond tumbler. So diamonds, I believe, I could be wrong, they're certainly at least one of the hardest materials in the world. And so how do we shave off bits of diamond? Well, you throw them in with a whole bunch of other diamonds, and then you rub them around again. They sort of grind it, and then all the rough edges get smoothed off. And he would sometimes tell us, living in Dharma communities, that's what you're here for. You're here to have your rough edges smoothed off. Because you throw a whole bunch of people together that have, other than the love of Dharma and meditation, nothing in common, who might never have been friends, might have thought, who the heck are those weirdos? But you put them all together, and with a common goal of inner peace and overcoming anger and jealousy and so forth, and there is a bit of friction, but we gradually figure it out, and we become a happy group of people. And we start to realize we can be friends with anyone. We start to learn all sorts of things.
If you feel inspired by this podcast, Then dive deeper into the timeless wisdom of modern Kadampa Buddhism by following the link in the episode description. We look forward to reconnecting with you in the next episode of Kadampa Podcasts.